Hey everybody, it's Travis speaking. We've been taking a look at the analytics and saw that some of our more popular videos had the subject matter of profile families. And I've always maintained that families are possibly something that we should learn how to create first before really getting into the project space. Because these are the nuts and bolts of what we're working with in the project. So they make what we do in the project space a little bit easier. So for an example, I have this wall type created here that says casework 5/8 gypsum wallboard, base cabinet, and standard upper and valance. So what I'm describing here is basically one layer within this wall and then a number of things that get addressed by embedded profiles. So let's take a look at this. If I say edit type and I go into my structure table, you can see that there's just one layer here of 5/8 drywall. And that's because I can draw this directly over any interior partition and then just have the layer of the drywall embed with the wall that's already there. But what comes with it, if we open up our section preview, is a number of sweeps essentially. And so I always maintain that it's a good idea to keep a rectangular sweep profile in your template that can easily be adjusted for different dimensions for different uses. And then what you can use that for is all over the place within Revit. So let's take a look for this, what we've got embedded here. You can see that we've got a number of profiles at different heights from the base. And when we hover over these, you can see which ones are used. So I've just named these for their usage using a simple millwork section to get these dimensions. So if we want to draw something with that, it might just look like this. Okay, and then we can select these, take a look at that in 3D. Or if we wanted, we can go to our view tab and pop a elevation in there and then just select these ones as well, and we can go to any one of these to start working on it. So let's see here. We were going to explore the families that gave us this schematic looking millwork. So if I go down to my profiles, you can see that there's a family here that says sweep rectangular, and there are the types that are defining the usage. So base cabinet toe kick, you can see its height's 4 inches and the depth is 2'3". So how do we put these together? Well, if we click on edit, this will bring us into this profile family. And what's important to note is that the profile usage says generic, meaning I can use this everywhere. Okay, so to understand that a little bit better, if we go to the drop down, you can see specific profile usages. I think we've explored a video in the past about fascias, there's gutters, there's mullions, railings. So you can see there's quite a few system family types that use this family type in their creation, but these have to be defined before they can go into the Revit project space. Okay, so the other thing is, how do we make them work? Well, we've got these reference planes and we have these dimensions associated to the reference planes. We don't want to, when creating families, we don't want to put the dimension to the line. We want to get it to the reference planes that we're align locking our lines to. That way, when we stretch these or we flex the constraints, we'll see them change because the reference planes are changing, and then the lines that are drawn on them are locked in place. So they're driving the positions. Okay, so once we have our dimensions in place, this is a very simple framework, and you can see we've got a left, right, center axis and a front, back, and that matters because this becomes the insertion point of this profile. This one says it's a weak reference and it doesn't really have a left or right attribute to it. So it just means that it's defining the geometry. Okay, so we can close that out. Actually, before that, let's go take a look at our family types dialog box, because currently we've pulled these types in from the project that we were just working in. So if I wanted to create more in the family, you can do that here. You can see that we have a mix of imperial and metric, but that's okay. But by looking at this, you can see that the types themselves were initially set up as metric, and then we've adopted some of these in imperial for this residential template. So if we wanted to create another one, let's just see, maybe we want one that is for dimensional lumber, like a 2x4, right? So I'll click on this little sun and paper, and we'll say 2x4 inch dimensional lumber. And then for the height, I'm going to put in the 3.5 inches, and I'm using that symbol. You can see it gives me the 88.9. I don't really like that. I like the whole number, so I'm just going to put in 88 here. And then if we did 1.5 inches, we'll get the 38.1. I'm just going to take that 0.1 off. Okay. Now, if I hit apply, you can see my framework flexes, and I get an example of what this will be if I choose this in the project. So now that that type is created in the family, if I load that back into the project, it says, do you want to save the changes? Well, this is only if I want to save the changes to this profile in my library. Okay. If I want that original family to stay intact and not have a whole bunch more, then you say no. But if I want that to be there in the future, then I'll say yes. But then it's going to ask me where I want it to go and save it to. I'm just going to say no, and then it's going to load that in, and it says, hey, you've already got this. Do you want to overwrite the existing version, or do you want to overwrite the version and its parameter values? This is super important, because if you've entered a bunch of new parameters in your project and you choose a second one, then there's a good chance that you're undoing a lot of work. And so we don't want to do that in this case. In this case, we haven't changed any existing parameter values, but in practice, I'm still using this first option 99% of the time. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, if we go back and we look at our sweep rectangular, you can see there's that 2x4 in there, along with the other ones. Okay, so that's that for profiles. Pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you like the content, hit subscribe. But we'll come back in another one possibly soon and create some panels for this millwork. Thanks for watching. Bye now.